make sure. All right, there we go. There we go, everybody. How is it going? And welcome to the most recent episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast. We are running over here on youtube.com/still UC Campbell. Cannot fix that. Since I set up something a long time ago, I can't fix it to where it just says GodSaw now. So, oopsie. Oopsie on that one. So this week's episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle is going to be a very interesting one, especially with the factors of what we've got to talk about. At least talk about right off the bat. That's why we're going to kind of get it out of the way. Really, we're going to try to get it out of the way as quickly as possible, because of course it's not a good situation at all. And that's, you know, how it goes. That's how it goes sometimes. You can't always be in the best of situation. And hi, Bruce Lee. Yes, Bruce Lee in Bruce Lee in chat today. So with this week's episode, I'm going to make sure the audio levels are good. It seems like we are good and everything's rocking right now. So let's go ahead and you know, get the not so fun stuff out of the way first, and anything on that side. So, as many of you know, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it, that's why I'm kind of going to talk about it now, because I didn't, I didn't do an episode last week of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, and two, it wasn't really known until... And here come the Batman, yeah. Batman, hopefully he'll join in on the chat. And the news that, like, I was kind of going to talk about here, and what went down last week with Extreme Rules, outside of Extreme Rules. Kind of beforehand, and before going along with everything on the show at that time. Which was, apparently there was a meeting backstage, that was a mandatory meeting for everybody. And it brought back in the aspects of them reinstating Hulk Hogan into the WWE Hall of Fame, which, you know, at this point in time, the Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame ceremony that they have, and the website at this time on that one. Oh, you are Batman. Okay, so Batman is Bruce Lee, so he's back in the chat cave on this one. So... we're starting this one off a little bit serious. So usually I'm very jokey, or kind of jokey with everything, not with a little bit of seriousness to it. But this one's kind of full-on serious. So they brought back Hulk Hogan in to kind of talk about things, and they had, I guess, a meeting about social media, everything on that side, and everything that goes along with it, and people being recorded and everything on that side. Apparently they also brought Hulk Hogan backstage and informed everybody that he was being reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame. And then he continued on talking about things with social media and everything on that side. And apparently, like, in the context of everything, he was... the way that the apology was kind of said, because they were saying that he apologized for the words that he'd said to a certain degree, but he didn't really, because the context of what was going on said that it was more of him. It made it feel like he was more sorry that he got caught saying the words that he said a long time ago in those tapes that leaked on Gawker during that time frame. That's a whole other situation with that lawsuit that went down as well, and an invasion of privacy and everything on that side. That's completely different on that side of everything. It was more of what was said on those tapes and what got out there. And it made it seem like he was non-apologetic to the words that he had said, but more apologetic to the aspect of being caught and not knowing that he was being recorded at the time on the side of everything, which is not a good thing. It really isn't, if that's the true context of what was taken, and based off of some of the stuff that got released in the terms of a few things that went out there and people who made statements, including Kofi Kingston and Titus O'Neil. Mark Henry also made some statements throughout the week. Kofi Kingston released one on behalf of himself and kind of with the New Day, because they did represent all, he represented all three of them on there because they had the same belief and same feels and the same feelings about everything. And honestly, both of these statements were very well done, and we're just getting everything that they thought across in a great way, and kind of a very classy way to go along with it. So Kofi, to kind of summarize here, Kofi said that they were releasing this statement. It was so it was to the WWE universe and whoever it may concern. This will be the only statement that we will make regarding the Hogan's reinstatement to the WWE Hall of Fame. We do not wish to spend the energy debating the point because between our kids and other ventures and everything on that side, they have a lot more energy that they want to go, be spending on. So they're basically saying that they were responding because they were getting bombarded with a lot of questions. So in their statement, let's see how they go about this. So we preface this statement by emphasizing that that this is our own opinion and may not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else affected. We do feel, how do we feel? Indifferent. We are not happy or sad, angry or resentful. Who WWE puts into the Hall of Fame is totally and completely up to the company, and from a career standpoint, there is no argument on whether or not Hogan should have his place. We have no problem with him being reinducted into in the slightest. I'm a horrible reader, by the way. Sorry about that. In the slightest degree. It is impossible to even begin to mention the history and the evolution of the business without mentioning his name and accolades on that side of everything. On a personal level, when someone makes racist and hateful comments about any race or group of people, especially to the degree that Hogan made about our people, we find it to be difficult to simply forget, regardless of how long ago it was. Our situation is or the situation in which those comments were made, but we also do not respond with more feelings of hate. Instead, we just do not associate with people who convey or have conveyed these negative or hurtful hurtful mindsets. Sorry again, I'm a horrible reader. This instance will not be different. Perhaps if we see him make a genuine effort to change then maybe our opinion will change with him. Time will tell. That's kind of the conveying of what they went with. I read it horribly. I'm sorry about that. But every word that they did, and it's up on their Twitter page as well, from Kofi Kingston, for the New Day and everything on that side, that was well done and honestly completely truthful. Based off of everything he had said, based off of everything that they conveyed in the actual statements that were put backstage of what people had said at that time, was that he was more, it felt like that he was apologizing for being caught at that time, which is not what he should be doing. He should be apologizing if he genuinely doesn't feel that way, or doesn't or is not conveyed that way. He should be, Hogan should be apologizing for the words and the actions that he had said at that time, not, being conveyed of, trying to say it's like, I'm sorry I got caught, essentially. He was kind of playing a little bit of a victim role on that side of everything. And to me, that is not the way he should be going about it. If he truthfully is remorseful about anything that he had said during those tapes or anything at that time. And there are a lot of rumors going, or not necessarily rumors, but there are a lot of apparently him going to boys and girls clubs and talking with them and being apologetic and remorseful. Those are proper steps. What he had said here was not a proper step, apparently. Again, since we weren't back there, we got to go off the words of everybody else on this one, based off of everything that Titus O'Neil, who also had said, also released a statement. One in his statement, there was not an aspect. He was trying to clarify that he was not boycotting the Extreme Rules show. He was not booked to be on the Extreme Rules show in any way. He showed up for the mandatory meeting and was told by the talent agent that once the meeting was over with, you may leave. And he had said during that time frame that he did not refuse to shake Hulk Hogan's hand or anything on that side. It was based off an aspect that there was not a time frame or a situation that allowed for a one-on-one interaction between him and Hulk Hogan at that time. He simply went to the meeting. He left the meeting, and then he did kind of convey his own thing about that as well, to kind of clarify exactly with what the New Day had said. He said, based off of everything, they do believe in second chances. They don't feel that he has done enough yet, in that sense, and I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that on that side, that Hulk Hogan has not done enough yet to kind of be forgiven for what he had said. If you hadn't listened to what he had said during on those tapes or anything, it's probably for the best that you don't ever listen to them, because they were very bad. It was very, very bad at that time, and to go along with that. And it's just one of those things that he's trying something, but he's doing it in the wrong way at this time. He conveyed himself kind of as a victim when he should be apologizing to everybody for what he had said. And that's not what we're getting right now. At least that's how I feel like we're not getting it at this point in time. There is a lot. Mark Henry had even said as well during a podcast that he was on, as well, saying that it was kind of 50-50 in the backstage between the African-American community. It was like some people were saying, no more chances, anything, kind of to hell with Hogan at that time. Other people were kind of saying it's like, as long as he's making the right steps, and then we'll give him a second chance or something on that side of everything. And apparently there was also a one-on-one conversation that Henry had mentioned with him and Hogan, saying that Hogan, he wanted to fix things. It's like like how people look at him, he wants to fix everything. And Henry kind of took it as areas like, oh, so you're willing to become part of the solution, not part of the problem. You want to take steps to help. So he's there to help him at that point in time. So there was kind of that on there. That's a right step. What he apparently said during the actual thing was not a right step in any way. And honestly, at this point in time, and I completely agree with you, he's a victim of being caught at that point in time, to go along with it. And like I said, it's just not the right way of him for him to go about things. If he's truthfully remorseful, he will hopefully continue to do these things that he's apparently doing with boys and girls clubs and everything like that, and conveying a proper message, not a message of getting caught on social media, on a message of, more of a message of not spewing those type of words and that type of hate and that type of feeling to other people at that time. And basically in a society that, for the most part, that we're in at this time, things that he said are completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable in any way. And, that's the message he needs to be conveying, is what he said was unacceptable. And that's not what we got here. That was not at all what we got here, and what we got was something completely different. Like I said, at this point in time, for me, I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up during the age of Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Andre the Giant, Junkyard Dog, countless others at that time. That was the age I grew up in, of watching wrestling. And at this point in time, I would literally go off and say, not even for like Legends appearances that they do every now and again, there is no reason for Hogan to show up. It's like, okay, they put him back into the Hall of Fame. It's true. He should, based off his career and what he had done in wrestling, he should be in the Hall of Fame. As terms of showing up on TV or making other public appearances or anything like that with the terms of the WWE, I don't need him on my TV. He would add nothing to begin with. So he's kind of to that point that I remember what was the past, but now this other situation that he had done 3 years ago is also part of that legacy. If he does the right things to fix that, that's great. That's good. It's showing an area of change inside of him and showing that, you know, that the situation that he did and the words that he said he finds unacceptable at that time and wants to fix the problem. He wants to fix the problem, not be part of the problem, to go along with it. So that's basically all I have to kind of say on that portion of it. To be fair and honest on that one, like I said, in the terms of WWE TV time, I don't ever really want to see him on TV ever again. It would be very weird to see him on TV at this point in time as well, based off of everything that happened 3 years ago and everything on that side. If they want him to kind of be like an agent to the boys or something like that, that would be fine, I guess, to a certain degree. But at this point in time, like I said, in the terms of TV, public appearances, anything like that, I don't need to see Hogan anymore. At that time, and I guess I could probably say that about some other legends as well. We don't really necessarily need them on TV at this point in time. And yeah, that's kind of, I'm going to kind of leave it there because it's depressing to talk about things like this. It really is. It's kind of depressing. I don't like depressing things. And I spent a lot more time on this than I probably really wanted to today, but you know, it's warranted the time. And it needed that kind of time and everything. So I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, hopefully he decides to, you know, show that he has changed his mindset, changed his way of thinking, you know, with what he said on those tapes was unacceptable, not conducive to what society is at this point in time, to go along with it. And he wants to go forward fixing the problem, not being part of the problem, or basically being part of the solution, not part of the problem. So yeah, I never lied. Hogan, even you never liked Hogan even before he got caught. Fair. I would say fair enough on that one. Not everybody liked Hulk Hogan back in the day either, on that one. Like I said, I grew up as a kid, so the whole Hulkamania thing was great and everything. As a little kid, as like a little 6 to 10-year-old kid and everything, at that time when I was mainly growing up with him. But, you know, like I said, at this point in time, he's still part of the problem. He's not part of the solution. And that's just how I feel. So, let's get away from the depressing stuff and talk about more fun things. Especially for tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. Even though we haven't gone over Monday Night Raw from this week, they did release an announcement that Stephanie McMahon was going to be showing back up on Monday Night Raw to make a huge announcement. And this will be an interesting one. This will be an interesting one to see where they actually go with it and see where they actually want to do with this particular announcement. There's a lot of different things that it could be. The one thing that I particularly think it's going to be is that they are going to announce the all-women's pay-per-view at this time. Whether it happens in September or October is left up in the air at that time as well, to go along with it. And that's kind of where I think they're going to go. There's some other announcements that they could be making at that time, such as either a women's tag team title, which could be in conjunction with a all-women's pay-per-view announcement at that time as well. And or there's even been like a small rumor that, you know, Stephanie was going to come out and announce that Ronda Rousey, Alexa Bliss was going to main event SummerSlam or something on that side. I'm leaning more towards the pay-per-view. I feel like when they say huge announcement, it means it's a first time ever. And now, granted, for Alexa Bliss or Ronda Rousey, that would be a first time ever for SummerSlam for the women to main event the SummerSlam card. We have had, of course, the women main event a Big Four pay-per-view with the Women's Royal Rumble on this year at the Royal Rumble and everything on that side. But it's kind of like I said, I feel like it will be a first time ever thing that she's going to come out and make the announcement of, which will lead me to believe that it would be more of the women's pay-per-view versus the a main event for SummerSlam or something like that. And like I said, they could, in conjunction, release the news that they were going to crown new women's tag team champions to go along with it. Or maybe they're introducing a mid-card title to the women's division at that time. Something on that side to go along with it. This is actually really good because they do have the talent now. I would say they do have the talent now to do something like this within the women's division. As long as they make the tag team, if they do make a tag team title announcement, as long as they do it between Raw and SmackDown, and you can even throw NXT to go along in there as well with the tag division, that would probably be best. Hopefully they don't do it where they set it up as like each brand gets their own set of tag team titles. At that time, I don't know if that would really work, but one that floated around between all the brands, I think would work at that time, and I think it would come off. I think it could come off really good. This is probably set up through the whole aspect of what happened earlier this year with the WWE going over to Saudi Arabia, and they weren't allowed to have the women on the show because of you know, religious beliefs and everything on that side, on Saudi Arabia's side and everything. That's probably one of the conjunctions that is going with this announcement. But guess what? It means it's happening. It means more likely it's happening, and we are going to get on WWE side an all women's pay-per-view. Now, this is not the first time that we've had an all women's pay-per-view in the United States to begin with, to go along with everything, because you do have you know, promotions such as Shimmer, that is an all-women's promotion here in the United States. You also have an aspect of TNA or Impact Wrestling. They used to do knockouts onlys, one night only pay-per-views. They've done about 3 or 4 of them, actually, that aired on pay-per-view and everything on that side. Now, this would be more than likely something that happens on the WWE Network side of everything. I feel like it could be a very interesting show, and they have a lot of choices for potential, like, big matches on that show. My main choice as kind of a traditionalist in the terms of wrestling is that either the Raw or the SmackDown women's title is on the line in the main event. One of those 2 titles is on the line in the main event of the show. But you have other potential matches that they could go with. If they really want to do just a fun cross-brand that's not a canon show or anything like that, you could set something up. You could set something up with Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte and Becky and do a fatal four-way between the 4 horsewomen. Or you could do horsewomen versus horsewomen on that side. You have things like that. Then you also have whatever they could do with Asuka. Maybe they don't do the horsewomen stuff. Maybe they do a second Asuka versus Charlotte match. Or Ronda goes defends the title against against somebody and make it a really big match at that time. Maybe they set up something on that side. I would feel like they should, if they do something like that, I hope one of the titles is on the line and would main event the show at that time on that one. But I feel like it could be a very interesting show. They have a lot of different things that they could do at that time, and I would be interested to see what they would come up with as well at that time for the particular show, because you do have a lot of talent, not just on Raw and SmackDown, but you also have a lot of talent down in NXT that you could bring up for the show. You have things like you have people like Shayna Baszler down there. You have Dakota Kai. You have Kairi Sane. You have Candice LeRae down there. On that side of it, on that side of everything, in the terms of the bigger names. But you also have other people who are up and comers, such as Bianca Belair, Lacey Evans, and people on that side as well. And they have a whole other area of talent. And I know she has a new name. I know she has a new name now. But there was one of the UK wrestlers came in. She's under a new name now, but she once went by Nixon Newell, who was actually a pretty good performer as well, who's down there in NXT. So they have a lot of talent, and if they do announce the show, I think it'll be great. I think it has the potential of being something really special, and hopefully it ends up being really special at that time. Now, before we talk Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, which was is kind of taking a little bit of the back burner on everything at this time for this week because of news and all that fun jazz. Usually I'm out of news within 15 minutes, and here we are almost at the half an hour mark at that time. So one last thing to kind of talk about. I have watched a little bit of the G1. The G1 Climax in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is their big tournament that sets up for Wrestle Kingdom next year. It's quote unquote their Royal Rumble because it sets up their main event for WrestleMania, but they do it in a big round robin style tournament, leading to the two people who lead in Block A and Block B to face off on the final night to see who goes on and has the main event match at Wrestle Kingdom. And they even have a rule, since the heavyweight champion, and they'll let you know it's also for the World Heavyweight title, the IWGP World Heavyweight title in that match as well. And and they even have a special rule for the factor that the champion, Kenny Omega, is in this tournament as well. So if the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, in this case Kenny Omega, wins his block and then wins the tournament, apparently the rule is that he gets to pick his opponent for Wrestle Kingdom at that time. So he has his pick of anybody if he wins. But if someone else other than the world champion wins, they get a world title match at Wrestle Kingdom itself. So what I have watched this week, I watched Night 4 and Night 6 and a little bit of Night 5. I didn't get to watch Night 7. That happened a little bit earlier today, and I was doing some other things, so I didn't get to watch that. The little bit I watched of Night 5, is an interesting story of where they're really going with everything. So Bad Luck Fale, Tonga Lua, and Tama Tonga had broken off from the Bullet Club. They had done their own version of the Bullet Club called the Firing Squad at that time. And they've been kind of wreaking havoc in the G1. They're not necessarily winning matches, but they're wreaking havoc and trying to injure people in the actual tournament, and usually getting DQ'd during most of their matches. I think Tama Tonga has won a match. I don't know if Bad Luck Fale's won a match or he's been disqualified in all of them at this time to go along with it. I've been following along as best as I can, not fully but not fully at the moment on that one. But I did see Bad Luck Fale's match with Tanahashi on Night 5. decent match ending in DQ with Tanahashi winning. Then you had everything going on night 4. The matches that they had on night 4 and night 6 have been pretty good. I didn't necessarily like the Tama Tonga Kenny Omega match. I thought that was a little bit kind of overbooked and everything at that time. But one match that is kind of, you weren't expecting it to be as good as it was, but it actually ended up being really, really good. Was the Kota Ibushi Yano match, which was a rather short match, but it was a very fast-paced one, and they were playing up the whole aspect of Yano's trying to prevent himself from cheating throughout the G1. So that's one of the things about Yano. He's kind of a comedy cheater in his matches and everything, and he's trying to out-wrestle people. So he even has a match with Zack Sabre Jr. on night 4, where he tries to out-wrestle Zack Sabre Jr., a guy who's known for like twisting your body in crazy, weird positions. It was really good stuff. A lot of the stuff I've been watching has been pretty good. Some of it off the top of my head I don't necessarily remember. You did have a... what was it? Oh yeah, another really good match. Another really good match inside of there, because Juice Robinson, the U.S. champion, the IWGP U.S. champion, is in the same block with Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and all them. On night 4, Kota Ibushi and Juice Robinson have a really, really good match. And then Naito and Ishii have a really good match on night 6 as well. To go along with that on there. So you're getting some really good matches in the G1 at this time. I haven't watched all of them, and I don't think I'll be able to watch all of them. But I will definitely try to watch some other matches throughout the G1 as well. We've been getting some really good ones so far, and I've been enjoying the G1 for the nights that I've gotten to watch. I've only really gotten to watch the couple of nights at that time. Hopefully I get to watch more. I do actually hope I get to watch more at some point in time. So we are finally out of the news, which kind of took a lot longer than we expected. A little bit over half an hour. That's a little weird for me. I don't take that long to get out of the news section. So let's rock this into Monday Night Raw that aired on July the 16th, 2018. And this was an alright show. It wasn't a bad show. Matches were definitely really good. Some of the stuff is a little bit weird, not gonna lie, with what they're going for in some of the storylines, especially the Sasha Bayley storyline. But it's kind of taking shape now. That storyline is actually kind of taking shape a little bit in an interesting way of where they're going with everything as well. The show started off with Kurt Angle coming out, and he got right down the business with the whole Brock Lesnar Universal title situation, in which he was going to strip Brock Lesnar of the Universal title, because he had not heard from Paul Heyman or Brock Lesnar since he had made the ultimatum. Paul Heyman eventually comes out, teases the whole aspect of calling out Brock Lesnar, says he isn't going to be here, and then Kurt looked like he was going to strip him again, and then Heyman kind of stops him from doing so, which eventually leads to Heyman coming to terms for a match at SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar defending the Universal title, but not before he basically made the proclaiming that, you know, Brock actually likes being in WWE, and he loves being Universal Champion, and he wants to take the Universal title to the UFC, and then take the Universal title and wear it proudly into the UFC as he fights for the World Heavyweight title in UFC. Kind of putting that spin on it and everything. And don't get me wrong, they've definitely gotten Brock as something off stage at that, off of my, like off camera at that time. But basically saying that he wanted to take that title over there and wear it proudly as he wins the UFC World Heavyweight title. Or the UFC heavyweight title. It's not world, it's just heavyweight title over there. at that time. But and Kurt basically says, like, okay, that's fine, but he has to defend at SummerSlam. Heyman, like I said, spins it and everything on that side, trying to spin it to where the crowd can actually like him, but now the crowd's like, part A of the whole situation is getting the crowd to hate Brock Lesnar, which has been effective. It's been great and effective at this time to go along with it, and on that side of everything. Now their part B on that one might be a little bit harder, which is getting Roman Reigns cheered. That might take some time. That one might take some time on that one, which is unfortunate. I'm, again, not on the side of hating Roman Reigns. Don't hate him. I'm kind of indifferent to him. I'm still kind of indifferent to Roman at this point. But after there was made the announcement that, you know, Lesnar's going to defend at SummerSlam, this eventually brings out Bobby Lashley. Then it's followed by Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and then it's followed by Elias, Finn Balor, and Roman Reigns. Kind of all proclaiming they want a shot. Roman even kind of plays it up that he doesn't necessarily want a shot, he just wants a fight. At this point in time, after losing the night before on that one, which does eventually set up 2 triple threat matches, one of which was Elias, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley. The second one was going to be with Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre, which was going to be next at that point in time. So that's where we're kind of at with that situation. The winners of those 2 triple threat matches were going to face off the next week, and then that was going to be the new #1 contender to Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Corbin does get on Kurt Angle's case backstage, and basically asking why was I not put into one of those? Is like, and I like how Kurt was like, "You lost last night, that's why." But then that would technically take Roman Reigns out of the situation because he lost the night before. You know, small plot hole at that time, and they just wanted to put Roman Reigns in there. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that one. But this leads to the Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre match, which was a very good match. I did rather enjoy this one. Roman Reigns did go over in the end, but all parties looked actually really good in this match, and like, even though Finn Balor ate the pin, he had to take a lot to actually do that at that time. He ate, in the end, he ate a Claymore kick, and then he ate a spear to get pinned. So it took a lot for them to put down Finn Balor in that match on that one. Drew McIntyre looked good in there. Roman did very good in there as well. I thought the match was a extremely good match and came off extremely well. Roman went over kind of expectedly in this one, but all in all, really good match. Can't really complain when you get a good match. They have a backstage segment with Bayley and Kurt Angle, and where basically Bayley says, like, she doesn't think the counseling worked or anything like that. It's like, well, hopefully it did, because you and Sasha are teaming up again tonight. And then Bayley gives that look of, it's like, really, we're doing this? It didn't really work. And then it's like, Kurt was like, well, if you two don't get along in this match, one of you is going to be traded to SmackDown. And it's like, there's a piece of me that would be thinking that either one of them would probably prefer to be on SmackDown at this point. At least they would get them out of therapy, like counseling and everything on that one to go along with it. But interesting segment, and honestly, at this point in time, the stuff that they're doing with Sasha and Bayley that doesn't involve Kurt Angle at this point, because it's really weird that Kurt seems to always say, and he even says it in here, it's like, we settle things in the ring. And it kind of made you think that they were going to have a match, but no, it means you two are going to settle it in the ring as a team. It's like, okay. It's like, why does Kurt care so much about this particular friendship? Where he doesn't care about anyone else's friendship, but he cares about theirs enough. And it plays off a little bit later in the night as well. Like I said, the stuff that they've been doing with Sasha and Bayley that doesn't involve Kurt Angle actually is taking shape and makes sense. If you would have taken out the therapy session and then taking out the, well, I guess you can leave the therapy session in there, I don't know. But if you just take out the Kurt Angle stuff, it actually makes sense, and it's actually kind of good, which is weird. Which is weird on that one. And I'll talk about a little bit more of that one later. Yeah, get him out of the Goofy storyline. I'm just hoping the match is going to be really good. I'm just hoping they're going to give time to those two to have a really, really good, solid match, whether it happens at SummerSlam or something like that. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it comes up on this show. You had Dolph Ziggler gloating about winning the match at Extreme Rules against Seth Rollins. He does get interrupted by Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode does challenge him to challenges Ziggler to a match, which eventually Ziggler accepts. And everybody was thinking it was for the title, but then Dolph is like, no, it's not for the title. And those two go off, have their match next. Good match. I thought they went out there and put on a good match and everything on that side. And it seems like they're going in an area where they're trying to tear down Bobby Roode and not make him necessarily as glorious on that side. Because Ziggler does win this match. And what was a really good match with a super kick in the end. So it makes it feel like, you know, he's not going anywhere or anything on that side. Then backstage, Mojo Rawley walks up to, as Bobby Roode's walking backstage, walks up to him and basically mocks him and says, and you're supposed to be glorious, and then walks away at that time. And, you know, Bobby Roode looks dejected and everything on that side. So it'll be interesting to see which route they go at this point in time with Bobby Roode and what they do. Are they going to take away a portion of his entrance every week, or what are they going to do with that portion to start making him not seem so glorious? Or does it lead to his heel turn? Who knows? Who really knows on that one? You did have a Bobby Lashley promo on Lesnar and kind of on the triple threat match a little bit later on the night, which I actually thought was pretty good on there, basically talking about what he was going to do to Brock Lesnar. Thought it came off pretty good on that side of everything. You had Tyler Breeze going up against Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley won that match in pretty much squash match fashion. And he looked impressive enough on that side. I guess they're trying to build up Mojo to be a little bit more. It seems like he's going to have a feud with Bobby Roode here, which could be something. I don't know what. Up next, we had Sasha and Bayley going up against Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke. So the way this match went, and this kind of plays off the story that they're going with at this point in time, to go along with it, is, you know, Bayley was pretty much, you know, in for the entire match. Sasha doesn't tag in. That is because, you know, Bayley's getting beaten down. She's continually getting double teamed and everything on that side by both Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke. Eventually, Sasha has enough of it and attacks both Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke on the outside, continues the beatdown. The referee admonishes her and eventually rings the bell. They don't make an announcement of who the winner was, so you either kind of go it off as a no contest or Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke won the match by DQ. I don't know. They didn't really make an announcement of it. And then Sasha storms off to the back. When they come back from commercial break, you had Sasha getting her bags, you know, getting everything into her bags and everything, and then Bayley stops her. And this is where it gets a little bit weird, but I kind of get where they're going. I kind of get where they're going with this one, and if it leads to the eventual heel turn, I'm okay with it. Because they do this whole bit where, like, you know, they play it off as like Sasha doesn't like to share her feelings with anybody. That her character doesn't like to share feelings on that side of everything. And then she kind of starts pouring her heart out to Bayley, saying that she loves the way, keyword there, loves the way that she is friendly with everybody, all that kind of stuff, knows when something's wrong with Sasha and has always been there and everything on that side, and basically ends it with saying, you don't get it And it's like, it's shocking that you don't get it, but I love you. And storms off at that time. Bayley looking perplexed in the end. The way that this came off, the way that this one came off is kind of like, and they do make mention to it in here as well, so it makes me feel like it's more of a sibling type of thing that they go with here versus kind of like a romantic thing, because they make the mention, and this is kind of always a thing between siblings. It's Sasha does say, it's one thing for me to beat you up, but in this case, you'll be damned if she lets someone else beat you up. In this case, so she does throw that out there, so it makes it feel like it was more of sibling type of bit versus a romantic thing. And honestly, that's kind of what they've been going with storyline wise. Bayley does let her emotions out there on that side of everything, and now Sasha's done it. Is this going to be a thing where Sasha goats in Bayley and that's where the turn happens, or does Bayley still turn at that point in time? It's final. The storyline's actually finally taking shape, and it seems like that they're finally going somewhere with it. That's not necessarily them just kind of turning their wheels at this point. And it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, and if they decide to do it this upcoming week to go along with it. I feel like they could do it this week, or they could hold off a week or something on that one. But it actually seems like it's going somewhere, and it actually... And the crazy thing about it, with everything that they've done so far with this storyline, and it's goofy and everything on that, and its goofiness and everything on that side, it's actually beginning to make sense. And that's the sad thing. At least I find that to be a little bit sad on that one, to go along with it. But it makes sense with what they're going with. And it'll be interesting to see how they play it off. They could play this off if they do a women's tag division as well. Maybe they win the tag team titles and they still hold off on the one-on-one match for a later time. Or they finally set up the one-on-one match for SummerSlam and everything on that side. Hopefully that's the route that they're going. Hopefully that's the route that they're going. I don't know, though. It's a little bit weird on that one. Up next, you did have a Braun Strowman interview talking about why he was not wanting to be in the... And I liked how he did it. It was like I think Charlie Caruso asked, is like, why didn't you want in any of the triple threat matches? And he just holds up the briefcase because I got this. It's like... And then cuts a promo on the winners of the triple threats. And then also a bit with the... also a promo on Brock Lesnar to go along with it. Decent enough stuff. Decent enough stuff there. You had the B team going up against the Ascension. The B team wins a short match. Woken Matt and Bray Wyatt do cut a promo, and they said they are invoking their rematch clause for next week. So that should be interesting to go along with it. Up next, you had Alexa Bliss and Mickie James coming out, and they start cutting a promo about winning. Alexa winning at Extreme Rules, everything on that side. Eventually, and starts talking about Ronda Rousey and everything. And then Ronda comes out through the crowd. And then, and this was actually really well done. So Ronda comes in through the crowd. She walks down the stairs, and Alexa and Mickie are going to start bolting up the rampway to get out of there. So instead of coming to the ring, Ronda runs around the crowd area and runs up the stage and cuts them off. Kind of destroys Mickie James some more on that side of everything, and then chases down Alexa and tries to get her back into the ring. This eventually does bring out Kurt Angle, and basically Kurt tells her to wait out the suspension and everything on that side. You still have 2 days on your suspension. This brings out Corbin, suggesting that Kurt should put his foot down and suspend her for longer. It's like, okay, I'll do it for a week. And it's like, adds just a week to it. Of course, this berates Baron Corbin, and it's like, where's my phone? I'm gonna call Stephanie. And he storms off because he thought he left it in his office, but apparently Kurt stole his phone. there you go. And he admits it on live television too, to go along with it, and basically makes the match for SummerSlam. It's like, and tells Ronda, as long as you stay away for the rest of your suspension, you're going to have your match at SummerSlam with Alexa Bliss. So that will be interesting to see what they do with that one. Or do they just do nothing with it tomorrow night? All right, to go along with it. I mean, based off of everything, they should just have it where Ronda just doesn't show up. And it's done. And it's done at that time. You do have a Seth Rollins interview on the triple threat match at that time. The triple threat match later on in the night. Also talks a little bit about losing the Intercontinental title. Iron Man match from the night before as well. Basic stuff on that side. The Authors of Pain went up against Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. This was kind of another squash match on that one. AOP going over, so they are putting over AOP on this one. And not too much really to talk about that one at that time. Hopefully they're doing something for SummerSlam. I don't know what. They haven't done much with the Authors of Pain since they've come up. And it's kind of sad. It really is. Up next, you had Ember Moon going up against Sarah Logan. This was a pretty good match between them. So they're continuing this whole thing with Ember Moon and the Riot Squad. And you did have like a little funny backstage segment with the Riot Squad, and I believe, was it this week with No Way Jose's conga line as well? Which is weird that he just gets to have a conga line following him all over the place. It really is. On that side, they did have a little funny backstage bit there. The match with Sarah Logan and Ember Moon I thought was pretty good. The finish saw Ember Moon going for the Eclipse at that time, and then Liv Morgan distracted her. This allowed for Sarah Logan to knock Ember Moon off of the top rope area. Off the top rope, and then roll her up to get the victory. And overall, what was a pretty good match. Both of them were selling for the crap out of each other in this match. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good stuff that they did there. They definitely put a lot of effort into this match. And the night... and of course, the man at the end of the night was the second triple threat match. Seth Rollins, Elias going up, and Bobby Lashley. This was a good match, a lot of back and forth with this one. Lashley does go over in the end, kind of expectedly at this time. I can't say unexpectedly. It was very expected that, you know, Lashley was going to go over. So it means we get another match with Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. Yet again, kind of making their match at Extreme Rules pointless. Yeah, kind of pointless, because now they're having the match at on Raw this week, which is actually for #1 contendership, instead of having it at, well, you know, Extreme Rules. Yeah, you just made the pay-per-view match pointless. Oh, and it'll be interesting to see where they go about it. Is it going to be another case where Roman goes over and we have another match at SummerSlam with Lesnar and Roman? Does Lashley go over and we hold off on this whole Roman versus Lesnar thing for another day at that time? Oh, we'll see where it goes. We'll definitely see where it goes on this one. But overall, not a bad Raw. Some stuff good, some stuff bad, and that's kind of the area of Monday Night Raw recently. Some stuff is good, some stuff is bad, and it is what it is. But up next to talk about is WWE Smackdown Live that aired on July the 17th, 2018, and this was a really good show. I did enjoy this show. Sorry about that. I thought it was a very good show. I like the whole beginning of the show where Jeff Hardy comes out. He basically cuts a very short promo on Shinsuke Nakamura, saying his heart is broken because he lost the United States title. He says it in a very fancy way at first, and I like how he explains this, like, that's more of a fancy way of saying Nakamura's a jackass. And it was great. They do cut to an interview backstage with Shinsuke Nakamura, where he basically calls Jeff Hardy a sad clown, and he's going to make everybody smile tonight because I'm going to beat up a sad clown. And then he says, God bless America. I'm like, Nakamura is amazing. He's just amazing in the role that he's in at this point in time. He says everything he wants to say in such a condescending way that makes you want to hate him, but it has that little touch of silliness to it that you can't help but not laugh as well to go along with it. It's really good stuff. I do really enjoy what they're coming up with with Nakamura at this point in time. This does lead into the first match of the night, which, you know, happened only 10. Like, they cut the promo time in half. Like, Monday Night Raw like, on Monday Night Raw, it's like a 20-minute promo at the beginning. They cut it, like, in half to, like, a 10-minute thing. If they didn't want to start with without wrestling on that one. And they go right into a match right afterwards with AJ Styles going up against Andrade Cien Almas. And, wow, those two. Now, don't get me wrong, they didn't do everything that they could possibly do in this match, but it was really good. I did thoroughly enjoy the match with AJ Styles and Andrade Cien Almas. They do play up this whole bit where, you know, Paige is going to announce next week who's going to be facing AJ Styles, and they're kind of teasing the whole thing that maybe it's Andrade based off this match. Eventually, AJ does work over the leg and calf area a little bit, which does set up for the finish with him getting the calf crusher and picking up the victory in what was a really good match. We did get some really good spot areas as well inside of the match from Andrade. We got to see the double moonsault, so he misses the first moonsault, but lands on his feet and immediately does the second one and hits that. Really good stuff. I did enjoy what they did here. On that side of everything. Aiden English is walking backstage. He comes up to Lana and basically wants to apologize, but Rusev is not wanting to see him quite yet at this point in time, so he's trying to apologize to Lana for what happened at the pay-per-view. And Lana is basically in and out of her accent the entire time. I think they're just dropping the accent, the Russian accent with her, slowly but surely. And then hopefully nobody notices when they just drop it all together at that time on that one. So this is kind of leading up to what might be the breakup of Rusev Day. I don't know, but we'll see on that side of everything. You have Becky Lynch going up against Mandy Rose. Becky Lynch winning the match in what was a pretty decent match. Nothing great, nothing spectacular, but a pretty decent match. Afterwards, Becky does cut a promo in challenging Carmella. This does set up a backstage segment with both Paige and Carmella. Carmella's wanting like another party and everything on that side. And Paige was like, okay, we can do another party as long as you win your match with Becky next week. And she's like, not for the title. Not defending the title. It's like, okay, that's fine. You'll have the match, and if you lose next week, you face Becky again at SummerSlam, and you're going to defend the title at that time. So... pretty decent stuff there, and they've been setting up this whole thing where, you know, Becky's been getting wins and wins and wins and wins and wins, and now she looks like she's challenging for the title. This kind of leaves Asuka out at this point in time, kind of where I was expecting it to go as well, was that after Extreme Rules, it seemed like that was going to be it for at least now with Asuka and Carmella, without Asuka picking up the title. And... now Becky's going to challenge. Maybe this leads to something further down the line. Who knows? Who knows on that one? Sorry. I still have a cough. Trying to get rid of it, but not fully successful yet. Not fully successful yet. Up next, we had a backstage segment with Ty Dillinger with R-Truth. So R-Truth is kind of talking just randomly. Kind of in that sense, and it's like, and Ty keeps interrupting. It's like, okay, this is going to be one of the pep talk things. I don't need it. I've got to face Samoa Joe next. Everything on that side, and then it turns out that R-Truth was talking to his mother on a Bluetooth headset, and then basically he's like, hold on a minute, and I forget what the other line was, but it's like, you're supposed to. I wanted you to do this, not mess with Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe's dangerous and everything, which does lead to the match from. With Ty Dillinger going up against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe winning rather quickly in this one. Ty Dillinger does get some offense in this match, and and he comes off at least decent, but does get squashed in the end by Samoa Joe and gets choked out. This was based off of the week before during the pre-show time that Ty Dillinger was going to come out for a dark match, but he got attacked by Samoa Joe. That kind of led to this match. But all in all here, decent enough stuff. Nothing really much to say about it, though. Up next, we had The Miz holding a funeral for Team Hell No. And basically at the beginning, he kind of starts talking about himself and talking about Miz and Mrs. and everything on that side, on that one. And then he basically trashes, you know, Daniel Bryan and Kane and everything on that side. He trashes Daniel Bryan for kind of going on this novelty act tour and everything towards the end. He does want a moment of silence, and he does the little hand bit, like the whole my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut, which causes the crowd not to actually do a moment of silence. Some really good stuff there. I like what they did there. And he also does say that Daniel Bryan's career is dead, and this does cause Daniel Bryan's music to hit. Daniel Bryan does come out, he attacks from behind, he goes after The Miz, gets The Miz a little bit, but then takes out the pallbearers as well that he had. Not, you know, the pallbearer, but the pallbearers that Miz had for that time. He takes them out and hits a running knee on one of them and a German suplex. And guess what? The Miz, Daniel Bryan story begins. It begins now at that time. So some pretty good stuff. You also had a backstage segment with New Day getting all pumped up for a match with Sanity, or Kofi Kingston's match with Eric Young, which was up next. Really good stuff. I actually did enjoy this match, and especially the ending of the match, where Killian Dane, literally on the outside of the ring, literally takes Xavier Woods, and Kofi gets launched into the ropes. So he takes Xavier Woods, launches him into Kofi Kingston, and uses Xavier as a weapon against Kofi Kingston, and then Eric Young hits the wheelbarrow neckbreaker to pick up the victory. I thought it was some pretty good stuff, and very an inventive way for Eric Young and Sanity to pick up a victory at this point. They kind of continue on their momentum from Extreme Rules at that time. So overall, I thought that was a pretty good match. This led to the Jeff Hardy Shinsuke Nakamura match. They do tease right at the beginning of the match that Shinsuke was going to go for a low blow on that one. But overall, good back and forth and everything on that side. The Batman PC went down, but the Batman, he returns. Welcome back into chat. Welcome back to your chat cave on that one. So with Shinsuke Nakamura and Jeff Hardy, the match does end in DQ. After Jeff Hardy hit the Swanton Bomb, which he basically makes look extremely effective now on that side, because it's not like it used to be where like just his head may glance the body. Like his entire body lands on the other person, so it looks a lot more effective now. After he hits the Swanton Bomb, Randy Orton attacks Hardy again and brutally beats him down. And if you notice right at the beginning, Jeff Hardy has those earring loops. I forget what they call them now. I forget what they call them, but it makes for like larger loops in the ear and everything. He has those in his ears. If you notice right at the beginning, he takes both of them out. He takes out both of the earrings, and it leads to what they're going with. So Hardy is getting brutally beaten down everywhere. Getting thrown into steel steps, everything on that's everything to go along with that. Orton's just brutally beating him down. But then he literally takes his finger, and like this looks sick. It looks sick and torturous. He took his finger and put it into one of the loops and started tugging at the ear. And it was one of those bits, like, and he's just, the whole time he's saying, he's like, you want to know why I'm doing this? You want to know why I'm doing this? And doesn't explain a damn thing throughout the whole bit. And then he throws him over and hits him with a draping DDT to finish off the show. All in all, good stuff. It does make Shinsuke look a little weak, I think, as U.S. champion to win it by to keep it by DQ on that time. But overall, the match itself made him look relatively strong to go along with it. So I guess it's somewhat okay on that one. But all in all, not too bad. And it's probably a good way of riding off Jeff Hardy for a little bit, because the rumor mill has been he has been injured for a little while and needed some time off. This is probably a good way of writing him off. And maybe we are going to do this whole, heel Orton, heel Shinsuke Nakamura, who can out-heel the other at this point in time, which could be very interesting to go along with it. I think it could be something really good. So, this is going to bring us to WWE NXT for July the 18th, 2018. It did start off with a match. It was Dakota Kai going up against Lacey Evans. And Lacey Evans picked up a victory here over Dakota Kai, and what was it was kind of one-sided, but Dakota Kai was fighting back throughout the entire match, kind of playing more of an underdog. You had this sick spot at the beginning where Lacey Evans took Dakota Kai by the feet by the ring post, and she was in the ring, and then like spins her around to have Dakota Kai's head hit the ring post. It was a pretty interesting spot that they came up with in there. Eventually, Lacey Evans, after Dakota Kai fights back, does win with her big right, with the big right hand. I think she's calling it the woman's right at that time on that one, and I thought it came off pretty good at that time. I thought they came off with a pretty good match. Ricochet did cut a promo on Adam Cole and about wanting to have another shot at the North American Championship. Man, do I want that replica belt to come out here soon at some point in time. Please let that belt come out in replica form at some point in time. I totally want to get that one. You had the Street Profits playing basketball and not a backstage segment, but in more of an iPhone style segment. We're getting film segment at that time, and they're talking trash about the Mighty, but calling them TM61 throughout the entire time as well. So it's kind of hilarious that they're still calling them TM61, though they're called the Mighty now to go along with that. They did a little basketball segment. It was kind of okay basketball. Wasn't great at that time. But then again, that's after watching, NBA stuff and everything on that side. If you watch NBA and then you watch just two people who aren't at that level, then everything looks bad at that point in time to go along with it. So you had EC3 walking through a hallway. He's doing all these kind of weird things, like a random guy comes up and asks for a selfie. It's like, sure. It's like he loves the attention that he's getting from everything. And so he takes the selfie with a dude, and he walks up to another random guy who's just sitting there. It's like, dude, that's nice. That's in the top 1%. And you know what? Here's it's like, here's the new EC3 shirt. There you go. I don't need it. It's like, I've got the money. Don't worry about it. He eventually walks up to Kona Reeves, who basically says, it's like, yeah, all that stuff is nice, custom made and everything, but it's not the finest. Where you can clearly tell that Kona Reeves stuff is like right off the rack and everything, which EC3 even mocks in the segment as well. Which is pretty much leading to, I would assume, an EC3 Kona Reeves match at some point in time. Which, again, pretty decent segment. I did like NXT this week. I thought it was pretty good. And this led next to Cassius Ohno going up against local talent. Ohno squashes him very quick. Basically one lariat and one spinning elbow later, and it was done. At that time, not much really to the match. Kind of really quick and done and out at that point in time. You had an Undisputed Era promo where you had basically Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly talking about regaining their tag team titles and how it really shouldn't have counted that the match in the UK with Mustache Mountain and everything on that one, and them getting their tag team titles back and everything to go along with that. And then Adam Cole chimes in and is like, so you guys want to hear a joke? Ricochet. It's like, what? And And they go through this whole little bit, and Adam Cole's just doing like his best impressions of being like kind of a jerk with everything, doing his best heel work basically. Even going to the point, it's like he's saying this woulda, coulda, shoulda thing. Is like, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't speak. And Adam Cole basically says like, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't speak loser. To go along with it. He's just saying it in such a nonchalant way. And then eventually they go, and you had Bobby Fish that also had like a trophy in his hand that was supposed to resemble a little bit of the Dusty Classic trophy. It isn't the true one at that time to go along with it. And they go to do the it's like Adam Cole does the whole, and that's undisputed. They go to do the logo, and Bobby Fish is just there. It's like, I'm holding this, I can't do it. It's just little nuances like that. It's really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. I really did enjoy this promo. They do such a really good job of making you want to dislike them that honestly, to a certain degree, it's hard to dislike them because they say it in such a nonchalant and kind of silly enough way that you can tell that's not how they actually are at that point in time. And so that's one bad thing about them being heels at this point, is that it seems like they're just guys being guys, and they're like not bad guys or anything like that. They're just guys. So that's kind of bad, but they're also really good at what they're doing to go along with it. It's kind of one of those double entendres there, that they're really good at what they're doing, but they come off with such a silliness that you can't help but like them. It's really weird. It is really weird with that one. That's probably one of the downsides to the Undisputed Era at this point, is that they should be heels massively, and they should be getting booed everywhere, but they're getting cheered everywhere that they go on that side. Up next, you had the War Raiders video package, basically talking about their history, and this was really good. You know, basically talking about everything that they had through their history and everything. Even talking about, what was it, Wade's? Yeah, Roe and Wade. You were talking about Wade's motorcycle accident from a while back. Talking about how one's the strength, but one's the high flyer, but it's not the person that you're expecting it would be at that point in time as well. Talking about their history in Japan a little bit. They do show a picture of them winning the Ring of Honor tag team titles inside of there. Some pretty good stuff, in a good way of kind of letting people know who these guys are and why we should care, what you should be doing. So what they should be doing is like, who are these guys and why should we care? And it was good stuff. I thought it was really good stuff. Up next, you had another video package for Velveteen Dream, which he was kind of doing a green screen thing. And I like how he does that. It's like lights out, and then the lights go down, and he goes like, ambiance, experience, and everything to go along with that. And the thing about his promo is that he was talking about all of his NXT TakeOver matches and what he had done so far, and what he is going to be doing for, and he doesn't directly say what he was going to be doing, but like that, you know, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn was next. He talked about, you know, Philadelphia, and then you go, it's like NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. And he says, Philadelphia. Does it, something like that. It was good stuff. Oh my god, it was a bit silly, but really, really good. Really, really good stuff. I liked what they did here with Velveteen Dream. If you can find the promo, I recommend watching. It's kind of hard to actually fully describe it without ruining it a little bit. So I would recommend watching the promo. It's some good stuff. So this led to the main event of the night, which was Kairi Sane going up against Nikki Cross, going up against Candice LeRae, and a #1 contendership match to Shayna Baszler for Shayna Baszler's NXT Women's title at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4. This was a really good match. Before the match, Shayna Baszler does come out and joins commentary on that side of everything, and basically kind of says, doesn't matter who it is, I'm going to choke the person out, everything on that side, as, you know, as they're putting on a really good match inside of the ring, all three of them. You had a good Tower of Doom spot in there. Just great back and forth on all sides to kind of tell the story that each one of these women wanted a shot at the NXT Women's title. I love the whole aspect with Nikki Cross. It's like she's just sitting in the corner initially, like kind of strung out a little bit about the really looked like she was about to take everybody out that time. And then Shayna Baszler came out, and you just see her kind of go wide-eyed and get like a massive smile on her face. And you just see her, they get a picture of her just waving at Shayna Baszler in that crazy like how's it going type of bit on that one at the beginning of the match. And just like I said, good back and forth. They had a good Tower of Doom spot in the match. It looked like Candice LeRae was going to pick up the victory with her Lion Salt on Kairi Sane, but she gets it gets broken up by Nikki Cross, and she does her swinging, or not swinging, but the spinning neck breaker move with Candice LeRae draped over the ring apron out to the floor, and eventually, you know, Nikki Cross takes down Kairi Sane to a certain point that Candice was able to come back into the match. She gets Nikki Cross down, hits a Lion Salt on Nikki Cross, so it looks like Candice LeRae is going to pick up the victory, but Kairi Sane was perched on the put on the top rope by Nikki Cross. She recovered enough to drop the Insane elbow, and that's right, they call it Insane. Or Insane or Insane, however you really want to put it. The Insane elbow on Candice LeRae to pick up the victory and to go on to face Shayna Baszler at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. This was a really good match. It really was. I found it extremely enjoyable on that side of everything. And it came off, like I said, it came off really good. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of match Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane have. They had the one at the end of the Mae Young Classic and then one in February, so they do even play that up that they're 1-1 at this time, and this is kind of the rubber match coming up as well. And yeah, like I said, they're going to be setting up for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn at this point in time. And yeah, that is basically everything for this week. Not much more to really talk about this week at all. On our side of everything, so we're pretty much going to sign off on this one at this point in time. So for everyone who tuned in for the live section, including Batman, who, you know, he brings up some fun stuff into the chat from time to time. I do enjoy him being in the chat every single week. He's calling himself Bruce Lee now on that one. I thank you for tuning in live this week. If you're watching this a little bit later on, I hope you enjoy everything as well. Hope you enjoyed this episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. We will be back hopefully next week, and I don't take another week break or something like that like I did last week. It's not the game plan, but sometimes it happens. On that side of everything. So hopefully we'll be back next week again with another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. Again, I thank you guys for watching live. If you're watching later, I thank you guys for watching at the later time as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Peace out. Have a good one.